where they've rotated from.
No, I'm sure that's something the analysis desk will be looking into here. I'm very, very certain of that. There's plenty to be seen as to what happened with them and what routes they took, how they were able to do that, and that's going to be after the break. So guys at home, do stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment with the analysis desk after the commercial.
Just getting this position from Slime Squad.
And he's not moving at all as Team Gates pops up. Like they're in a lot of trouble.
You're just trying to go for position. Nice shots coming up from the Archer.
Snap to press. Oh my God! Where Click gets the kill and gets the win. Prone trying to do it, but he didn't know he was there. Stab goes down, but Moody there to trade, but there's more coming from Fast Rail.
So much damage already taken. He peeks back up, gets the down onto one of them, but it is not enough. Honey Badger Nation comes out with a round win.
But now it's going to be wild card with the fight that they could, but they are being punished by Team Gates. Daz is down as well. They are
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Is that a bullet flying around at a weird direction? Is that a pan floating around in the air? No, that's Ghost Gaming becoming the poltergeist here in the Mercedes-Benz Arena, and they're able to the desk once again. We have Boogie and we have Avenger. We have to start at the very beginning, though. We can talk a lot about Ghost in a moment, because what we saw was some drops that we weren't really expecting coming out, right, Boogie?
Yeah, absolutely. There were some massive surprises. Of course, the very pure area remaining absolutely unlooted to teams that have chosen not to go there, and they actually met up in Severity or close by in the quarters as well. That was very surprising, but it was a very, very welcomed as well kind of changed for Navi, of course, in particular.
I mean, as you said, we expected some changes coming up. There were some open places. Germany was one of them. 2 teams coming into it, of course. But again, the plane was also some sort of rough. We saw a very southwestern area, and the northeastern area was very open because of the plane path, which is usual. But obviously, having the southwestern area that open, now we could just transition because the therapy was that easily open. So they had an easy rotation for the later stages of the game.
That's right. Of course, we were with Refund going to Severny, and we had AHQ also dropping around there, but then eventually going to shooting range. Beyond that, though, Honey Badger Nation heading over towards farm area, where we normally would see them being down towards Novo. Clearly, they felt like there was going to be a bit of a nervous moment going up against a team like Gold up there, down there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They had the drop against any kind of other team that went into that area. Actually, 4 AM decided to completely ditch the situation and go into the military base, where they were actually kept in, or they were welcomed rather by Gold with that mini no scope, of course, which was made the transition a bit easier. But 4 AM got really in a difficult spot. Them coming in this late into the game, particularly not being able to go to their looting position and having a harder transition back to the circle, that's the highlight of the game for me. 4 AM have really shown to me that they know what TPP is about.
I want to talk about some of the teams that came late to the circle, and they did have a little bit of problems because of it. It felt like we had WTSG, we had Black, which we can actually talk about in terms of their drop location in a moment, and then we also had Navi coming in quite late as well. None of these teams really were able to make a kind of higher run through this game number 1, of course. What do you make of them coming in late and that dynamic in this 20-team meta?
I mean, especially in this area here, when you have this small multi-power area and the multi-power area, it's so hard to get in there. So you want to come in on the eastern side. You want to be in the eastern side of the circle. And also, we saw in the 3rd circle a huge amount of water. So they knew, of course, 4th circle is going to push away from water. So a lot of teams are edging. But then again, you have to remember, you have a huge road in the middle, which basically separates everything because you can't cross it on foot. You're going to be absolutely tear it apart because there's more than 15 teams alive in the 4th circle.
And of course, there was that conflict that we kind of anticipated going on in South George between Black and WTSG. However, we saw a very interesting drop pattern, I think especially from Black coming in initially.
Absolutely. So the south of Georgia Bowl itself was left alone for WTSG to actually loot, whilst Black actually decided to do a 2+2 split in the docks and then the hospital area. That kind of made things a bit harder for WTSG because their pathing then became much more difficult as their rotation into the circle would have been gatekept by anybody. Should they have chosen to go north, they would have met with the Vanguard. Should they have chosen to go east, they would have saw them load very late into the circle. They were actually almost caught by the blue.
I mean, even though that Welcome to South Georgia did have an early rotation, they kind of still suffered from it because they had to leave early. They didn't have that good loot. And then again, they edged on the western side. You see an eastern side circle. If you're early, you want to go on the other side. You want to be in the eastern side because you know that everybody, when you have a map, you have the circle, everybody's going to be pushing in from the east. They're going to be pushing in. So the amount of pressure on the western side of the circle is going to be so much larger. So if you go early, you want to make sure you make your way through and come and stay on the eastern side.
There's so much that we could talk about, but I want to get down to some of the smaller circles because we saw it starting to filter on mini mill to power. And Team Liquid for a long time throughout that had a phenomenal position of anger. Why did I do Avenger? I can't believe I did that. That's the first time I've done it in a broadcast. I can't believe. Anyway, regardless, they had a phenomenal position that they were able to hold for a long time. And then, of course, OMG decided to turn up and boot them out. But overall, that was a great spot for them to take and a great dynamic that they had available there.
In the 3rd circle, they were in a great spot in the southwestern corner of the big multi-power area. And then as soon as they saw the next circle, they decided to crash on the small multipower area and take that because that's even more center. And they did that very early, which put them in a great position. The problem for them though, they stayed in that corner. They didn't open up too much. They didn't defend their backside. So they effectively just could have one smoke in them and then they were closed in and everybody could just surf from them. Right. Of course, there was also a huge cluster in that area because everything was kind of shifting away from them. So they couldn't do anything else but just wait. So they just got pinched between circle movement and also other teams wanting to make their way into that position. Yeah.
It does seem like they got a bit tunnel vision into that situation, as you called it. They were looking to their north in particular because they had easy picks for people coming down from across the mountain into Lumbermill. Or sorry, from the Lumbermill away. But doing that, they're going to ignore their backside there. And of course, 4 AM were able to push quite close to them and decimate them absolutely. And Savage before that as well. So that kind of shows you tunnel visioning is a very, very important factor. Even in TPP, where you have not much more information to go through, seeing so much more of your environment without having to peek. But still, you have to keep your 360 covered. Samti even on top of the actual sandbox that he was in, just peeking into north, hard peak, nobody contesting him. So they probably thought, okay, south might be clear. That's probably what got them so confident.
I think, you know, when we see Team Liquid come into a tournament, we see them show up big in a day number 1, and they had to have felt pretty confident there. But as we saw, OMG was able to crash that party very effectively, and we saw a lot of movement going on around that mini multipower area as such a focal point. 2 teams that had a bit of a rough and tumble around the south of that were Myth made in Thailand as well as Navi, trading back and forth in there in quite the skirmish.
I mean, huge skirmish, good nades coming out, but what Navi did as well, they left a player behind to kind of clean up and make sure they had the flank position so they can have an angle on them. But they did huge, like Myth did some insane pushes. Yeah. Third person pushes you wouldn't expect, coming over and actually taking him down, but Iba, fantastic push, coming in, saving his teammate and taking out Myth in a, I think, outside top 15 position for them. So that was terrible for Myth, but insane play by Iba.
Yeah, absolutely. Iba is the uttermost clutch player that you will ever find.
Absolutely.
Really, really good at these situations. You will be strong.
And here are the rankings at the moment.
We go.
Ghost Gaming leads the pack with 680 points, 12 kills to their name, as well as the 500 points that they get from that first place. For Angry Men, we saw them in the Chinese region doing very well in TPP. They did not disappoint here to start things off. Some of the names down here towards the 11th through 20th spot, though. What kind of jumps out to you as a surprise from that first round?
WDSG, I suppose, is the biggest surprise here. With them losing Larson early on to the game, Larson was actually able, whenever he dies, he will step back and IGL the team, conduct the team a bit more efficiently. So actually, it's not that great of a loss. Even if he's an insane fragger, he's able to let them know where to go to. Unfortunately, of course, when they went to Big Milta, they ran into big trouble as well.
Right.
So that was Miracle left alone, and then he died soon thereafter. So WDSG, I think, is the biggest surprise.
And the team, obviously, that cleaned up Navi eventually was Ghost Gaming, the winners of that first game. And I've got to say, especially